All right, so today we're going to talk about simplifying exponential expressions using our exponent rules. So we're going to take a look at a couple problems here. And to start these problems off, we need to get some values. So the first value we're going to get here is A, the number of letters in your first name. So there we're going to have that A is going to equal 6 for me. B is going to be your birth month. So my birth month is August. So B is going to be 8. And your birthday date, my birthday date is the 6th. So C will be 6. Okay, so now we're going to substitute these values into our model. So we've got X and Y, and we've got X and Y, and then we've got B, A, some C's in here. So we're keeping X and Y. We're substituting values in for what we see. So I'm just going to rewrite this problem. Here we have an X, and actually that's in a fraction, so let me write it a little bit smaller. So I've got an X to the negative 14. Okay, then I have a Y to the B, and we said that our B value was going to be 8 here, so I'm going to make that a Y to the 8th. Okay, then underneath that I have an X to the C value, which I'm going to pull from here is a 6, and then a Y to the 3rd. Okay, then I have B minus A here, so here I have 8 minus 6. Okay, so I've got everything filled in, so now I want to start with my exponent rules. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do this 8 minus 6 here, and that's going to be 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase this and make this a 2. Okay, the first rule that I'm going to apply here is I'm going to apply the power rule of exponents, which means that if you have an exponent on the outside of the parentheses with another exponent on the inside, you're going to distribute that exponent to everything on the inside using multiplication. So that means I'm going to multiply each of these exponents by 2. So I'm going to have X to the negative 14 times 2, negative 28. Y to the 8 times 2, 16. Then I'm going to do down here, X to the 6 times 2, that'll be 12. And then Y to the 3 times 2 will be 6. Okay, now that I have multiplied each of my exponents by 2, I'm going to get rid of the parentheses here and then move on to simplify this expression. Now, the next thing that I want to do is take care of any negative exponents. Negative exponents means that they change position in your fraction. So if you have a negative exponent in the numerator of a fraction, you need to move it to the bottom of the fraction into the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this X to the 28th, or negative 28, and I'm going to move it into the bottom as an X to the positive 28. And it is gone from the top of my fraction. Okay, I've taken care of the negative exponent. So it moves the position from the top to the bottom. Once it moves, it is not a negative exponent anymore. Okay, then I'm going to simplify using either the quotient rule or the product rule of my exponents. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of my x's. I'm just going to go in alphabetical order here. So I've got a fraction. My x's are both in the bottom, which means I'm going to combine them and keep them in the bottom. And when I'm multiplying, because these are technically multiplication here, I have 28 x's and 12 x's multiplying. That means I'm adding my exponents here. So when you have two exponents with the same base right next to each other, that is multiplication, which means we're going to use addition with the exponents. So 28 plus 12 should give me 40. So I have an x to the 40th in the bottom there. Now my y's, I have one on the top and one on the bottom. So when I look at these y's, what I want to do here is use the quotient rule. You have two ways you can use the quotient rule. You can subtract top to bottom. The easier way I like to do this is where is the larger y? That's where the y is going to end up. So in this case, the larger y is in the top, y to the 16th, and then you're going to subtract 16 minus 6. So that would give you y to the 10th. Okay, and what I mean by that is that if, let's say, for example, it was y to the 6th over y to the 16th, the larger y would be in the bottom, and then we would just subtract 16 minus 6, leaving the y in the bottom. Okay, so that's what I mean by where is the larger y. And then I only have one x and one y, so that problem is now simplified. Okay, let's move on to the second problem. So we're going to input our values again here in our second problem. So remember, you have a is 6, b is 8, and c is 6. Okay. So let's plug these in here. I've got a -2. I have a minus b, so it's going to be 6 minus 8. And then I have an x to the b, which is to the 8th. Then I have a y to the -a, so -6. Okay, then in the denominator, I have an x to the -2. And I have a y to the c, so a y to the +6. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the 6 minus 8, which is going to give me a -2. So I'm just going to erase this and make this -2 to the -2. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of all of my negative exponents. So I'm going to extend this line a little bit because I've got more than one in this time. I'm going to circle my negative exponents on the top. So I've got a -2 to the -2, and I have a y to the -6. Okay, our negative exponents move their position. Okay, so this -2 to the -2 moves to the bottom. Now this is important. Just because this is negative, okay, that is not affected by the move. The only thing that's affected by the move is the exponent. So this -2 stays a -2, but the exponent, now that it's moved position, is a +2. And then that's gone from the top. The y to the -6, that's going to move into the bottom as a y to the +6. Okay, then I also, when I'm going through here, I have a negative exponent in the denominator, this x to the -2. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to move that position from the bottom up to the top. So I'm going to write it over here as an x to the +2. Now it's gone from the denominator. Now this is a little bit messy looking, so I'm going to rewrite this problem with what I've got left. So let's see here. We've got an x to the 8th and an x squared in the top. In the bottom, it looks like I have a -2 squared, I have a y to the 6th, and I have a y to the 6th. Okay, so now that I've gotten everything rewritten, now I'm going to do my simplification. So I'm going to start with my numbers. So on this one, I've got numbers. I've got -2 in the bottom, and that's squared. So I'm actually going to get my calculator, and I'm going to do -2 squared, which is -2 times -2. That's going to give me a +4. So I'm going to have a +4 in the bottom here. In the top, now I'm going to go to my x's. I've got x's that are right next to each other, so that's going to be the product rule. So I'm going to add these exponents here. So that's going to be x to the 10th. And then here in the bottom, same thing. I'm going to add these exponents, y to the 6 plus 6. That's going to give me y to the 12th. I've got one number, one of each x and y. So I am complete with this problem. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these expressions here, and we're going to simplify a new expression. So this is problem A. So we had problem A was y to the 10th over x to the 40th. So I'm going to write that out here. And then problem B is our second problem, which was an x to the 10th over 4 y to the 12th. Okay, so now I'm going to create new expressions here of an a over b and then ab. So let's do the first one, a over b. All right, so that means that what I'm going to do here is I've got to divide two fractions. So if I write them all on top of each other, that gets a little bit painful. It looks like this. And then over x to the 10th over 4 y to the 12th. Okay, that not fun to work with. So the way that we want to work with this is actually going back to some elementary fraction tools, and dividing. So using this division sign and writing them next to each other. Okay, now that these are written next to each other, now I can go through and do this. So I'm going to do keep, then I change my division to multiplication. So this changes to multiplication. And then I want to flip my fraction. So that means that I'm going to flip this over. So I'm going to have a 4y to the 12th in the numerator and an x to the 10th in the denominator. And then when I'm multiplying, that means I'm working straight across. So I'm just going to extend my line straight across here. And then let's see, I've got just one number, and that's a 4 in the numerator. Then I've got a y to the 10th and the y to the 12th, both in the numerator, so those are next to each other, which means I'm going to add the exponents. Sorry about my dog there. Okay, so adding these y's is going to give us a y to the 10 plus 12, 22. And then in the denominator, same thing, they're right next to each other, so I'm going to add the 40 plus 10, and that's going to give me a 50. So that's my first expression, 4y to the 22 over x to the 50. And then the second one, I am multiplying the two expressions. So remember, I did end up multiplying in the first one, but I did flip this. So let's see what they look like just straight multiplication. So that's going to be a y to the 10th over x to the 40th times x to the 10th over 4y to the 12th. Okay, now we are multiplying, so we can just extend this line. And here's what it would look like. So going to your numbers first, you've got a 4 in the denominator, so that's going to stay. Now let's deal with our x's. So you have one x on the top and one x on the bottom. So this is quotient rule. So you're going to do, where's the larger x? Larger x is in the bottom. So it's going to stay in the bottom. And then you're going to do subtraction. 40 minus 10 gives us 30. So we have 30 x's left in the bottom. X's are gone. Taken care of. So it's the 4. Then we're going to do the same thing with the y's. You've got a y to the 10th in the top, y to the 12th in the bottom. Larger y is also in the bottom, so y will stay in the bottom. And then you're going to do 12 minus 10, which will give you 2. And then if I'm left with nothing in the numerator here, I need to put something there because I can't just write it like this. So I'm going to put a 1. So this is going to be 1 over 4x to the 30th y squared. So I hope that helps with your simplifying exponents. Thank you for watching.